How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we are going to talk about Valorant. Now, Valorant is not the type of game that I would play, but it is the type of art style that I love, so I thought we should have a discussion about it. Let's get started.
Good to see you haven't changed, T. We got work to do.
Okay, so Valorant. This is a game made by Riot Games. So the version that you're looking at right now is the version that uses Unreal Engine 4. We will take a look at the version that has Unreal Engine 5 in the future, so make sure you subscribe for that. Now, as you can see, the situation when it comes to the visuals here is very painterly styles. This is the kind of style that I love. Like, drawing these kinds of textures are my favorite. The way that you draw the normals, because you can paint them, you can paint these, or you can just do them in Substance Painter. As you can see from the environment around me, I think the light is very static. The characters do not have shadows. As you can see, also the geometry is very simple. Overall in the environment, everything is lower poly than anything nowadays. And I'm not saying this is a bad thing, it's just this game, the developers decided to make it simple. This not only blends well with the style, but it also allows this to run almost on every computer out there. This is one of the perks of games using this particular style, is that you can go very simple with the geometry without breaking the visuals. And by that, I mean without the visuals looking like, you know, old and dated and that kind of stuff. So that is one of the perks of doing this kind of like stylized, cartoony style. If you're an indie dev, think about that when you are making your game. That's one of the things that you should ask yourself when it comes to art direction is the art style that I'm choosing lending well to the platforms that I am targeting? Because if you're not targeting like current gen or PC or something like that, and you decide to go super realistic, then it's going to be very hard to optimize. Whereas something like this, it's much easier. I'm not gonna say it's very, but it's much easier to optimize, especially when it comes to the VFX. If VFX can be done via flipbooks as opposed to being simulated via VDVs or Alembics, which can be very costly when it comes to the engine. Now, with that being said, let's go to Blender to take a look at one of the agents. All right, here we are in Blender, and as you can see, we have two different models here. This is the third-person model, or at least what you see in other characters, and here is the first-person model, which is what you have when you're playing the game. Because if you look down, you never see like boots or pants or anything else. So one of the things that first-person shooters do for optimization, because usually, especially in a competitive setting, nobody cares about looking at the whole body. So these are the two models that you're going to see in game. There was an in-between. Actually, when I exported these out, there was another model. This one has all the bones, has a lot of facial bones. The model that was in the middle didn't have that many facial bones. So I think that was this is like the LD0, and that probably is the LD1. Just speculating here because triangle-wise, they're pretty much the same. So let's start with her, and then we'll move on to the first person model. All right, here we are in geometry, and I changed the color of the wireframe so you guys can see it better. I know some people were asking to change the color because they couldn't see the geometry quite well on YouTube. Wonder if it's because of compression or that. But as you can see, she is not super dense. She's actually, what, 39, well, let's say 40,000 polys. We have blocky hair, which is style that I like as well. Pretty cool. And overall, you can see the flow around the face is pretty much the same that we've seen all the time. Like the flow around the eyes and around the mouth, it's usually the same. Let me turn off the texture so I can see everything better. So as far as the build of the character and the stylization of them, these characters are close to Fortnite. We'll take a look at Fortnite on the channel soon. This is something that we need to take a look at as a channel that uses Unreal Engine a lot. But yeah, this kind of like tubular forms you can see that her arms and her legs are very like cylindrical. There's not that many curves to it, even for a female, and that's not bad. I'd say she is very appealing as a character because again, if we turn on the colors, you can see that this character is super appealing, pretty good looking character. But yeah, all these characters are very cylindrical, including the male characters, the robot characters, compared to something like Overwatch, where the silhouette of the character has a little bit of a more curve to it, whether it's female or male, it doesn't matter. It's just about the whole art style and direction of it. And let's see if we hide the shoes, and they are not watertight. So as we've seen on the channel, not every single mesh from the whole character has to be watertight, because as you can see, this part, like this, the ankle area, let's say, it's not watertight, but the pants are, I think. If we hide everything else, well, they are welded down here, but they're not welded in the top part. And very interesting that you can see the belt is actually part of the pants. So when you have kind of like these lower poly characters, you do have plenty of equipment on them, but usually they're part of a single mesh as opposed to being different pieces. What we're going to see in the Overwatch characters. Yes, we're going to have Overwatch in the future, so that's why you should subscribe. Now, if we hide her jacket, you can see that her stomach goes all the way up to a certain point. Like this part of her body doesn't end right here where the shirt starts. It actually ends up a little bit higher. There's another thing that you should take into account if you're making characters. You don't always delete absolutely everything that's not seen, because again, I don't think all those polygons are going to be seen, but there's usually a good practice to have a little bit more polygons underneath the clothing. Not fully, because if she had her whole mesh underneath, then you would have the problem of the possibility of clipping, and it could also be a nightmare to rig. Now, one thing that I wanted to show you is how these characters are composed, because when it comes to this style, one of the things that stands out is when you look at the character, how the character actually looks brighter from top to bottom. It's like the character is on a gradient that goes from brighter to darker. And that's something that you usually, when you're doing this kind of style, you can achieve by using a position map. It's something that you bake either in Substance Painter, or you can do it in Marmoset. I don't know if you can do it here in Blender. Let me know if can you do a position map here in Blender. I'm very curious. Let me know in the comment section down below. But you can see how the top of her head is much brighter. Same thing with her face, and then it starts going a little bit darker. And just to show you that has nothing to do with lighting, if I flip her on her side, you can still see that effect, because that effect is baked into the textures, especially into the diffuse, how the diffuse is composed. You can see how in places like her shoulder, this part of the shoulder is brighter than everything else. Like the definition on her shoulder is actually a little shade that's a little bit darker. Same thing with like this portion of her bicep and the rest of the underarm. That is something that again is baked into the texture, and it's purposely done so they don't look like dolls. And more into this, hard to describe, into this more cartoony, I don't know, it just makes your character a little bit more appealing once you do this kind of gradient, especially for all the body parts, not only for the skin, but you can see it around her clothing as well. You can see that here there is a lot of tone shifting. It's not just, oh, it's a shade of blue and that's it. There's a lot of tone shifting here and everywhere around, not just in the pants, but also in this area, which is a different material. Same thing with this part right here, which is also a different material. And yeah, you can see that I'm very passionate about this style. Now, we did have another type of stylized character on the channel, and it was the Marvel Rivals. The difference between the textures from Marvel Rivals and this is that if you remember from that video, I have a couple of them if you'd like to watch them on the channel. You could see that for the most part, the Marvel Rivals do have, if you get close, they have a more like painter like strokes, like paint strokes, and that's to give them more like the comic book style, which I think it makes them stand out from the other stylized styles, if you want to call it that way. All right, let's look at the first person real quick. So in terms of geometry, it's not that much different than what we had on the main character. So it's honestly pretty much the same. It's just the arms. What they did here is just separate the arms from the rest of the body, so they didn't have to render the body as well. You save a lot of performance on there, but unlike other first-person shooters that we've seen on the channel, where the arms and the hands are usually much denser because that's what you see in the first person, these are exactly the same as the arms that are on this character. So there isn't much change there. Now, when it comes to the UVs, one thing that is particular is that since everything else is gone, then the whole texture is dedicated to the arms. And because the arms are symmetrical, you can see that the arms, like the left arm, is actually on top of the right arm. So if we select the whole thing, it's right here. And if we select this arm, same thing is right here. But you can see that since is the whole UV for just the arm, then you get a much higher resolution texture because it's going to be in front of the camera. So this really helps with the resolution and what your player is going to be seeing all the time. So Valorant, what do you think about this game? Do you like this game? Do you like this kind of art style, or do you prefer a more realistic art style? Let me know in the comments section down below. Thank you so much for watching all the way till this point. Remember to leave a like. Nowadays is more important than ever because YouTube, it wants more engagement. So we need to get likes if I want to be seen. Really supports the channel. Thank you so much again for watching all the way to this point. Remember to subscribe. Socials are downstairs, and I'll see you in the next one.